Yesterday, Robert F. Kennedy, the presidential candidate for United States elections, have posted on his Twitter a video. Let's fact check this video because it is full of lies, full of manipulation. It reeks with imperialistic tone, which kind of makes sense now because Muscovites are imperialists as well. So it's natural they would attract each other in this point of view. And from my own personal opinion, this is probably the most disgusting video I've ever seen from a democratic country or republic like United States. With this intro, let's watch the video and play.
I don't know how we actually openly go and defy this idea that we don't give Putin the fact that he is in control of a nuclear arsenal, that we want to sort of pick that fight and battle that's been going on for a long time there. And I just wondered...
Okay, so the argument about nuclear arsenal. So if a nation possesses nuclear weapons, does it mean they can get away with any kind of crime? Have you ever considered that nuclear blackmail must never work? From the looks of it, Kennedy Jr. does not understand this. Let's keep listening.
As president, how do you manage that?
You know, Putin every day says, I want to settle the war, let's negotiate, and Zelensky...
That's a lie. Putin doesn't say every day, not to mention his actions speak louder than words. He recently said that he's ready to fight a 5-year war. We see that they're escalating with each new day. On top of that, what are we going to negotiate with terrorists who came into our house, are killing us? What are we supposed to say to them? The only thing we can say to them, hey, can you get out of our home?
Let's negotiate. And Zelensky has said we're not going to negotiate, but Zelensky didn't start that way. I don't want to, belabor the history, but Russia was invaded 3 times through Ukraine. The last time Hitler killed 1 out of every 7 Russians.
Ukraine was invaded by Russia right now. Why is he talking back into history? You want to go back into the history? Every freaking country in Europe got invaded through other freaking country in Europe several times in history over. And in World War II, 1 out of every 5 Ukrainians killed. Kennedy Jr. is manipulating so hardcore here.
They don't want to have Ukraine join NATO.
They don't want Ukraine to join NATO. So since when a sovereign independent nation has to ask permission what they are allowed to do and what they are not allowed to do?
Oh, when the wall came down in the Soviet Union, Europe, Gorbachev destroyed himself politically by...
Gorbachev had nothing to do with it. It was the will of the people, of German people, to destroy the wall that was oppressing them. Do you see the imperialistic approach to this? Like, people don't matter. It's United States and Kremlin, that's it. And you will see this tendency in relation to every nation. Let's keep watching.
Doing something that was very, very courageous. He went to Bush and he said, I'm going to allow you to reunify...
Soviet Union was already on the brink of collapse.
Under a NATO army. I'm going to remove 450,000 Soviet troops, but I want your commitment. After that, you will not move NATO 1 inch to the east, and we solemnly swore we wouldn't do it.
This is a lie. We solemnly swore we'd not do it is a lie. Even Gorbachev confirmed this is a lie.
Ein Mythos, dass sie vom Westen bezüglich der NATO-Osterweiterung betrogen wurden? Ja, das ist tatsächlich ein Mythos. Da hat die Presse...
So we can officially call him now a liar, which I'm gonna do from this point forward.
Well, then in '97, Brzezinski was the first of the neocons said, we're going to move NATO 1,000 miles to the east.
Again, he's saying from imperialistic point of view, we are gonna move. He completely disregards that NATO is a voluntarily alliance. It's not that they moved it, it's that other countries requested to join it. A huge difference.
And take 15 countries into it and surround the Soviet Union. So then we not only move it into 14 new nations, but we unilaterally walk away from our 2 nuclear weapons treaties with the Russians. And
I do know Moscovia pulled out from several treaties by its own.
We put Aegis missile systems in Romania and Poland, 12 minutes from Moscow.
You did not put them in Romania and Poland. You did that together with those countries, Romanians and Americans, Polish and Americans have done that. It was not your sole decision to do that.
When Russians did that to Cuba in '62, we came this close to nuclear war until they removed them.
This Cuban argument is very sneaky one because it completely disregards the Cold War dynamic that was happening there, and he completely disregards the fact that those missiles were for defensive purpose only. Was NATO ever a threat to Moscow? Answer honestly. And the answer is no. And again, you did not put them there. Poland wanted them there. Romania wanted them there. Let's keep watching.
They removed them. So the Russians don't want nukes 400 miles from Moscow.
Since when does it matter what Moscow wants or not? Since when their desire is superior to what Poland wants, is superior to what Romania wants, is superior to what Ukraine wants? Since when, Mr. Liar, do you divide nations by classes? This is the first class where Muscovites are, and second class are Ukrainians. What Polish wants, who cares? Matters only what the stronger of this world want. Is this the world we really want to live in, where power of the stronger dictates the reality? It's been like this before. Do we want it to be like this now? Now, he also says,
we then overthrow the Ukraine government.
We then overthrow Ukrainian government. This is really hurtful for me to even comment. He completely disregards Ukrainian people as a subject to do anything on its own. He completely disregards Ukrainian people fight for what's right, fight for the future. He says that this was made by United States. Of course, then the question is how and why. He's not going to answer to that. And mostly because this is one-to-one Moscow propaganda. So if you want to go with Moscow propaganda and claim that you've overthrown Ukrainian government, then you also have to admit that United States had a goal to destroy Moscovia.
In 2014, their elected government.
Elected government.
Western sympathetic government.
Pay attention to the word elected government, right? Because our elections were transparent and fair, and we elected a new president. There was actually no overthrowment. In reality, this is a lie too. Our president has fled the country, so Ukraine's legitimate parliament has just appointed new presidential elections. There is completely no overthrowment in here.
Russia then has to go into Crimea because they have a port. It's their only warm water port. And they know the new government that we just installed is going to invite the U.S. Navy.
Before he said it was elected, but now he says it was installed. See the contradiction?
To their port. So Russia then went into Crimea without firing a shot.
This is a lie too. There were several people murdered by making lots of shots. And this is part of Kremlin's propaganda. It's just a pretty wrapper, but in reality, it's a propagandistic lie.
Because the people of Crimea are Russian.
Conveniently forgets to mention that there are Crimean Tatars, which Muscovites have nearly genocided. They have evicted them from their homes in 1844, and when they have annexed Crimea again, they have cancelled their self-governance. On top of that, completely disregarding a big proportion of Ukrainians living there too, and completely disregarding that Crimea voted to stay in Ukraine in 1991 referendum, and completely disregarding that political parties that were rooting to join Moscow Empire in 2013 elections did not even cross the barrier to enter the parliament. On top of that, the census that we have said that majority of Crimeans want to stay part of Ukraine. Okay, let's keep watching.
Then the new Ukrainian government we installed started killing ethnic Russians in Donbass.
So he now basically implying that United States started killing ethnic Russians. And ask yourself why? Why would Ukraine or United States ever want to pursue that goal of killing ethnic Russians? And how do you differentiate between ethnic Ukrainian and ethnic Russian? There's almost no difference in appearance. This is such a baloney. On top of that, the leader of terrorists who instigated the war on Donbass, Strelkov, the one actually who is wanted for shooting down MH17, he confessed that without him, without Moscow's help, Donbass would live peacefully right now. It really saddens me to hear this from a candidate for United States elections. Sorry, let's keep watching.
To Lugansk, and they voted to leave and join Russia.
They voted to leave and join Russia. So this Mr. Liar says that Moscow Empire has the most fairest and transparent elections. Sarcasm, of course. Let's keep watching.
Putin said, I don't want them. Let's give them protection and give them semi-autonomy and make an agreement to keep NATO out of Ukraine. That treaty was written by Germany, France, Russia, and England in the Minsk Accords. And the Ukrainian parliament, which is controlled by ultra-rightists.
Ukraine parliament controlled by ultra-rightists is a lie. Ukrainian most far-right party did not even reach 2% in the elections. Ukraine had 0 ultra-right parties in their parliament.
A nice way of talking about them, refused to sign it. Zelensky.
Ukraine signed Minsk Accords. One of the points in Minsk agreements was that the border between Ukraine and Moscow Empire goes to the international observers. But Moscow never let that happen. As soon as international observers would move into a border between Ukraine and Moscow Empire, the war would have been over.
He runs in 2019. He's an actor. Why did he get...
Ronald Reagan was also an actor, so what?
He promised to sign the Minsk Accords.
That's no... Yes, that was... That's not... That was part of the reason why he got elected, but not entire reason why he got elected. This is a manipulation. On top of that, Minsk Accords were already signed.
He promised peace. He gets in there and he pivots. Nobody can explain why, but we know why.
He did pivot. He was naive. He thought he could negotiate with Moscow Empire. He thought he could find some way to end the war, but with any attempt he tried, he saw it was more and more futile. Moscow was not interested in finishing the war, in finishing suffering of people who lived in Donbass.
Threatened with death by ultra-rightists in his government.
Threatened by death with ultra-rightists? This is another lie, especially in the parliament. I'm sorry, but how is it this so much lie propagates in the United States Twitter?
And a withdrawal of support by the United States by Victoria Nuland, who's leading the economy State Department. We told him he could not sign it. So then the Russians go in, they don't send a big...
You told him he couldn't sign it? Oh my God, this is another lie.
Army, they only sent 40,000 people. It's a nation of 44 million people. They clearly do not intend to conquer Ukraine, but they want us back at the negotiating table. We won't allow Zelensky to go back, so he goes to Israel and Turkey and says, will you please help me negotiate a treaty? The Russians just want a guarantee that Ukraine won't join NATO. Zelensky signs the treaty, Putin's people sign the treaty, and Putin starts withdrawing the Russian troops in good faith. And what happens? Joe Biden sends Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister, over to Ukraine.
So now Boris Johnson is a puppet of Joe Biden. Hey, you out there, go to Ukraine and do as I say. Not to mention this negotiation, whatever Zelensky, Russian withdrew with good faith. No, their asses were kicked. They did not withdraw in good faith.
In April, and forced him to tear up the treaty. And since then, 450,000 kids.
Okay, even if we assume he is speaking the truth, force him to tear up the treaty. Why? Why? 450,000 kids died? Wow, well, last time I checked, according to the UN, 532 Ukrainian children were murdered by a Moscow invasion. 450,000 kids? Wow. The magnitude of this lie is immense.
Kids have died who none of them should have died. For every one Russian that dies, 5 to 8 Ukrainians died, and they don't have any men left.
Oh, wow. So maybe if Moscow Empire goes home, nobody will die. Brilliant. Not to mention this statistic is complete fabricated lie that for every one Muscovite, 8 Ukrainians die.
You know, we're giving them all these weapons, but they don't have men left.
But the main focus here is that Ukraine is the reliable part. Ukraine is using Western weapons efficiently. Problem is that Ukraine is not getting enough weapons to restore the rule of the law.
Catastrophe, and we look kind of like the aggressor. That's the way the rest of the world sees us.
No, United States, you look like a savior. You are providing us weapons to defend our home from the invaders. We Ukrainians are very grateful to United States for providing us means to defend ourselves. Since when defending ourselves is something bad? This video is insane. It justifies Moscow invasion. It divides nations by first class and second class. It lies. It manipulates facts. It plays into Moscow's propaganda. Unfortunately, this is the level of this Kennedy guy. Whew. Thanks for watching for my spontaneous video.